In our modern life, many of us have been conditioned to chase after a set of milestones. Graduate by a certain age, earn a certain amount of money by a certain age, get married by a certain age, so on and so forth. In 2015, I was on a good trajectory. I had a job at a huge MNC, a healthy salary, even a car provided by the company. I was playing by the book, but I was stressed out and disillusioned. So I took what I thought would be an easy way out. I quit to work on this Thoughtworthy thing that Glow had started. I don't think I really knew what I was signing up for. I was just glad to leave my job. Back in those days, I cared a lot about others' opinions. So when we weren't seeing much financial success after almost 2 years, I started to worry about how it looked from the outside. It didn't matter that we were enjoying and learning so much from the process. All I could think about was how we didn't have the results to show for it. Speaking with acquaintances, friends, and family would fuel those doubts. I was supposed to have been successful by now, like my peers, but instead, I've been falling behind for 2 years. I was impatient and anxious to get back on track, as I've always felt more comfortable fitting in. That's why, by late 2016, we were seriously thinking about shutting down Thoughtworthy and going back to a regular job. One day, in one of our discussions, out of the blue, Glow floated the idea of going somewhere for a month-long work and play trip. I thought he was kidding, but he said, if we are seriously going to stop doing this, we might as well take advantage of it while we can and enjoy it while it lasts. When's the next time we could just decide to go away for a month? Logistically, it was feasible. We could work on our next project remotely, but our savings were dwindling. We were almost broke. This may leave us in a precarious position. It would also be an uncharacteristic thing for me to do. Being responsible and playing it safe has always been in my DNA. But somehow, by the end of that very same day, we had booked the plane tickets, and 10 days later, we were on a flight, each with a backpack of our essential belongings, our laptops, and camera equipment. The next 30 days would turn out to be some of the best days of our lives. You may think that meant extraordinary adventures, but it was quite the opposite. The days were ordinary. We picked Bangkok, Thailand for our destination because it was relatively inexpensive. We stayed in a one-bedroom apartment about the size of our current living room in a somewhat inconvenient residential corner of the city. Mondays to Fridays, we would work out in the morning, then got started on work. We cooked many of our meals, but food was so inexpensive, sometimes it was cheaper to just eat at a neighborhood restaurant than to cook a healthy meal at home. So we liked to explore the neighborhood for food places. None of the restaurant menus in the area were in English, and no one spoke English as well because no one was expecting to interact with tourists in this neighborhood. Our fondest memory was from our time spent in our favorite nearby restaurant that we affectionately called the Yellow Signboard. The food was delicious and the staff were friendly. We didn't understand their English and they didn't understand our horrible attempts at Thai. Thankfully, universal hand gestures did most of the work. We frequented the place so often during those 4 weeks that they would sometimes bring dishes out for us to try for free. Some of them were a little exotic for our taste, but we think the staff enjoyed laughing at our reactions. On the weekends, we would take a break from work to do more touristy things. Usually, that meant enjoying cheap street food. Other times, it was exploring the city and other free activities. All in all, we spent less than $800 per person for the entire trip, and that's including the airfare and accommodation. In the end, whatever we worked on in that one-bedroom apartment didn't even see the light of day. But what we got out of the trip were much more valuable than that. The whole experience made us think about how much we actually need to be happy. A backpack of essentials in a 350 square foot space, doing ordinary things, but they were some of the best days of our lives. The most refreshing thing about our trip was that for 30 days, there was no noise and no external voices. With just our voices, we had clarity of mind. We talked fruitfully about our plans and our goals, and we were able to come to a conclusion with absolute certainty that there was nothing else we would rather be doing than to be working on Thoughtworthy. We don't like to say, don't listen to others' opinions. Opinions tell us what others would do if they were in our shoes, and sometimes that can be invaluable. But at the end of the day, we have to remember that no one else but ourselves is going to be actually walking in those shoes. So we always listen to opinions, but what's more important is that we use that to formulate our own. But to make things work, we had to first learn to be patient. When we are young, we tend to rush, especially when everyone else around us seems to be in a rush as well. But when we are young, it's perhaps the most important time to be patient. We like to think of it this way: the journey is going to be long. It may not sound like fun watching others drive off in fast-looking cars, but we would rather take the time to make sure our car is in good working condition before setting off than to have it break down on us midway through the trip. We also learned to be more content. We let go of the fear of missing out. A smaller, almost unfurnished home, having a limited wardrobe, not dining at the hottest new restaurant in town that everyone else is talking about. Those things weren't such a big deal. We downgraded our lifestyles, but upgraded our lives. It bought us more time to continue doing the things that mattered to us. Being in good company, discovering work that excites and fulfills us, and hopefully building that into something bigger and even more meaningful. We hope you enjoyed this little story about our experiences and that there was something in there worthy of a thought or two. If you enjoyed this type of storytime videos, do let us know by hitting the like button, and let us know in the comments what kind of stories you would like to hear in the future. We'll see you again in the next video.